Today we are making one sandwich loaf from freshly milled flour, and this recipe will give you one full sandwich bread that is soft, fluffy, and perfect for those everyday sandwiches. These are all the things that I use consistently in my kitchen to make bread. And by the way, I'm going to have them linked all in the description below to make it easier for you to find them. So I have a kitchen scale. If you are wanting to make sourdough and you're really getting into the bread making, you're going to need a kitchen scale. I only use my kitchen scale when I make bread, and it is just, I can't even tell you how awesome it is. The other thing that I use consistently is a cast iron bread pan. Now, I got 2 of these, and I love this. I oil them up really good. It gives me consistent, good bread that doesn't burn on the bottom. And I love the cast iron because it heats it evenly for my bread. Again, I'm going to link that in the description below for you. The Wonder Mill. Okay, so I just freshly milled my flour. What I did was I am using for this recipe hard white berries for my flour. And so I freshly milled them, and if you don't have a mill, that's fine. You can get, your bread flour. The reason why I encourage you to freshly mill your grains is because it keeps so much of the nutrients intact because it's got the bran, the germ, and the endosperm, and it's all alive. And what you want to do is you want to mill it right up before you make your bread so that you can retain all those nutrients. It gives you, this is like a superfood, y'all, and it's got 40 out of the 44 essential nutrients that you need. Like, it's incredible. So just sit with that for a moment, and I just want to encourage you to freshly mill your, berries. But again, if that's too much, you're like, Ashley, I can't, then, flour will do fine. You'll need oil and honey for this recipe. I am using my KitchenAid mixer to mix the dough together. This is my favorite salt. It's real salt, so it's got the minerals in here, so you don't have to feel guilty about using it. It's actually good for you. You will need a spatula, a measuring cup, and another measuring cup for your water. Okay, let me show you what we're gonna do. All right, let's begin with getting out our flour. And what we're gonna do is you're gonna want, so if you don't have a scale, I'll also do this in volume. So you want about 3 cups, or you want 360 grams of flour. And if you have a kitchen scale, you always tare it so it goes to 0. And the reason why a scale is so awesome is because you can get the exact measurements of everything, especially with freshly milled flour, because it just works differently than store-bought flour because of how the grain was grown each year and the hydration and the blah, 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 blahs. Okay, I'm going to tare my scale again. You want 1 cup of warm water. Make sure it's filtered. You don't want to have chlorine in it. Number 1, that's just bad for you. And number 2, it can inhibit the yeast. So you want 1 cup or 240 grams. And if you're using a scale for the first time, kind of try to go a little bit slow and let the scale catch up to you. Okay. The next thing, now this is why I like the scale for this recipe, for example, is because I don't have to put it in a measuring cup. I can just dump it all in, which makes it so wonderful, especially when we get to the honey. So you want either 2.5 tablespoons or 35 grams of this. So I'm just going to drizzle it in. And I did want to let you know, I will be putting this exact recipe on my blog, and I'll put the link. Maybe I'll pin the comment to make it easier for you to find so that you don't have to write it down while I'm talking. You can just go onto the blog and print it out. And I mean, yeah, I've used this recipe. I actually just made a fresh loaf yesterday using this exact recipe, and it was tall. It was beautiful. Sorry, we're using 50 grams of honey, which is 2.5 tablespoons. So the same amount as the oil, 2.5 tablespoons of oil, 2.5 tablespoons of honey, and There we go. And this is going to give your sandwich bread, you know, it's going to be like a honey white wheat, like what you would get in the store, except for it's like really healthy and really nutritious. I mean, it's just so exciting. And then we're going to put in 1 egg in here. I don't know why I tiered my scale for the egg. Isn't that funny? Like you just get to using it all the time. That's hysterical. Whatever. All right, plop the egg in. That is my Southern accent that slips out from time to time. And then we want the salt. So it's 1 tisp, like, what is that? Sleeping Beauty says. The fairies say in Sleeping Beauty, 1 tisp or 1 teaspoon. And y'all, I just press the buttons all the time. I mean, I don't know. I just can't seem to. 4, 5, 1 more, 6. Perfect. And then the active dry yeast. That's what I'm using is active dry yeast. And we're going to put in 6 of that. I didn't tear my scale because 6 plus 6 is 12 and I can do math. I can do easy math. Da, 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 da. Almost there. And 12. Ha-ha. Okay, now what we're gonna do is, now we're gonna mix it all together. And for this one, I did a little bit differently. Instead of doing an autolyse, I'm using the straight dough method. And the only thing that means is that all the ingredients get mixed together right from the beginning. And y'all, this works really well for sandwich bread because the flour will continue hydrating while the dough kneads. And during the first rise, it still allows the gluten structure to develop. All right, so you may notice that with this, I added the yeast and the salt at the same time. And a lot of people, including me, you know, worry, oh no, the salt's gonna kill the yeast. But in a bread dough like this, that doesn't happen. So once everything is mixed together, the salt and the yeast are diluted through the flour and the water so the yeast can still do its job and ferment the dough. I mean, is that not so cool? So what salt actually does in the bread is it slows the fermentation slightly and it strengthens the gluten structure. And this helps the dough hold its shape and it improves the texture of the final loaf. So the only time salt can interfere with the yeast is if it's placed directly on concentrated yeast with like very little moisture, you know, like basically sprinkling salt straight onto yeast, like the yeast granules and letting them sit together. But once the flour and the water are in the bowl and everything is mixed, the yeast is protected with the dough in the fermentation, you know, proceeds normally. I know that's like such a mouthful. I want you to think of it like adding salt to a big pot of soup. So once you add the salt in, it's like distributed evenly. It's not sitting on like that big chunk of carrot. Like think of that carrot as the yeast. So hope that makes a little bit more sense. Let's cover and rest the dough because we need this step because it hydrates the bran and it begins the gluten development, and fresh flour especially benefits from this. 20 minutes is up and I wanted to show you what my dough looked like. You see how it's like all goopy and shaggy? So we don't want this. We want our dough to be stretchy and elastic. So this is where the kneading portion goes. So what you're gonna do, I've got a KitchenAid mixer, use whatever mixer you have, and we are going to knead this dough for about, you know, it can go anywhere from 8 minutes to 30 minutes. What I always like to do is do a window pane test, and that will tell me when my dough is finished kneading. So I'm going to take a look at that and not take a look at it. I'll show you the window pane test when it's time, but I am going to show you in a few minutes what the dough looks like, because after a few minutes of kneading, then you're going to look at the consistency of your dough, and you want to make sure that it's pulling away from the sides. And so sometimes I need to add a little flour. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, it has been kneading now for 4 minutes, and you see it's kind of like a soupy mess. This is too shaggy. So what I'm going to do is within our recipe, we have extra flour. And by the way, if we don't use all this flour, which we're probably not going to, you can put it in a freezer bag and preserve the nutrients for next time. But what I like to do is I like to add a half a cup of flour at a time, and then let it go around and mix it. And I keep on doing this until I get the consistency that I want. And what I'm looking for is I want it to pull away from the sides of the bowl, but I still want it to be, sticky at the bottom, but it needs to be like it needs to be grabbing by the hook. And so it's like that nice balance of tacky. I'm gonna get my spatula in here while I talk to y'all. Tacky, but not too stiff, but definitely not this loose. And you have to remember fresh milled flour acts differently than store-bought flour. It takes a little longer to, soak up all that hydration and moisture. So that's why you want to go slower. So I'll keep on doing this until I get the consistency that I want, and then I'm going to show you. This is what I was talking about. You want to pull away from the sides, and then also you see how it's grabbing on the dough hook. So that's what you want compared to that other shaggy version. And it should be sticking to the bottom of the bowl. It could be a little tackier, but that's my fault. I added too much flour too quickly because got impatient, and that's the thing with bread making, is that you need to have some patience. But this still is going to turn out delicious because I've done this before, and it's still amazing bread. I mean, this recipe that I'm giving you is just foolproof, really. But anyways, so I'm going to let this knead for 10 minutes, and then I'm going to check it with the window pane test, and I'll show you what that is to see how it looks. I wanted to show you what your dough is not supposed to look like. So this, my dough's been kneading for about 5 minutes, and watch. So if I try to stretch it out and get that window pane test, do you see how it's like, you can tell it's getting there, but it's ripping, and you do not want it to rip because then you will have a flat loaf. So it took about 20 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes. I can't remember how long, but look, this is what I'm talking about. This is the window pane test. You hold it up to the window, and do you see? So now you can see light coming through, and it's not ripping. So that's when you know it's needed for the right amount of time. Now that that part is done, what you're going to do, I just leave it in the same bowl, and I love these covers so much. I am going to cover my bowl again, and I am going to leave it in here for 60 minutes, an hour, and this is called the first rise. Also, the professional term is bulk fermentation. Oh, let me show you what the dough looks like real quick. That's what my dough looks like. So that's what you want. It's, a little bit tacky. It could be even a little bit more tacky, but you can already tell. See how it's sticking to the sides of the bowl? Look at that. See, and that's what you want. Can you see that? Let me get it right here. Can you see that? See how it's sticking to the bowl? That's perfect. So that's what I'm talking about when it's tacky. Anyways, I will see you in 60 minutes. Okay, so it is time to shape the loaf. The 60 minutes has been up, and so I love getting a plastic dough scraper because it allows you to get everything out of the bowl. It's just, look at that. So see how I've got all that extra dough in there? So this thing, oh my goodness, I love it. It just like scoops out all the extra. It makes cleaning so much easier, and it's getting out all your leftover ingredients. So see, look at that. And then I just, bam, put it over there. And then let's get our cast iron pan, and let me show you my favorite part, which is shaping the loaf. Now, there are a million ways to shape your loaf. And this is my method that I'm doing right now. I always mix it up, but this, I don't know. For right now, I love this method. So what I do is I put it in a rectangle, and then I fold over. I'll do it this way so you can see. I'll fold over more than half the way, and then I'll pull it and stretch it over that way, okay? So you kind of have that at the end. This is the jelly roll that I love to do. And so then what I want you to do is, there, that way you can see it better. You pull it, you stretch it, and you roll it tight. Stretch it, roll it tight. Pull it towards you and roll it. Pull it towards you. You really, really want to create a tight roll, because this part right here is going to determine how tall your sandwich loaf gets. And I don't know about you, but I love a really big and tall sandwich loaf. A tall, fluffy sandwich loaf is just, you know, it just looks like store bread. And also my kids get really excited. So I already oiled up my pan really good, and then I plop it in here. And then what I like to do is I like to press it down so it fills out all the sides really good, like that. And then what we're going to do is we are going to cover it again, and it'll probably take about 30 to 45 minutes. It depends on, you know, the temperature of your kitchen, but you'll know it's done when it rises to 1 inch above the pan. I wanted to show you what my loaf looked like. So you see how it's risen an inch above the sides of the pan? That's what you want yours to look like. And now I'm gonna put it in the oven. It is set at 350. It's been preheating, and I'm gonna leave it in there for 30 minutes. And I'm going to leave it in there. I will show you that I will check the internal temperature so that you can make sure that the inside of the loaf is done. Okay, so the timer dinged. Oh, look how pretty. This is our beautiful sandwich loaf. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we are going to check the internal temperature. And the internal temperature, what I like to do is I like to check it on the side. So I'm just gonna go in, and it needs to say 190. Up, it's 181. So it's going back in. So I'm gonna put it back in for another 5 minutes and check it. Okay, I just pulled it out of the oven again. Let me try it again. Yes, okay, so it needs to reach at least 190. So what I'm gonna do right now is I am going to get some butter, and I'm gonna go ahead and rub the top of it. That is going to really make the top part of the crust soft. I don't really like a crunchy crust. If you do, you know, you don't have to do this part, but I do. My kids love that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it sit in the cast iron pan for a full 10 minutes. That way, and this is so important, y'all, because if you don't let it sit in here for 10 minutes, it's going to crack. So it's got to sit in here for 10 minutes. This is called sweating. And then you're going to take it out, and I'll show you what to do. I'll show you exactly how to do that part, because you don't want the bottom part to be gummy. So it's like this 2-part thing that I have tested and experienced, and this is how you get that perfect sandwich loaf. Okay, so now I'm going to take it out, and I am going to pop it out here. Notice how that slid out really nicely. And then look at the bottom, it's not gummy, right? And then look at the top, it's not cracked. So that's my secret method on getting the perfect loaf. 10 minutes in the pan. so it won't crack, and it'll continue to heat the interior and just like let it calm down. And then what we're doing right now so that it won't get gummy is we are going to drape it over like this, so it's going to produce a really soft crumb. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it sit here for 45 minutes before we cut into it, so that it's going to give you the nice, beautiful crumb that is going to make your sandwich bread soft, fluffy, and sliced. It has been cooling for close to an hour, so I'm going to go ahead and cut into this sandwich bread so that you can see what the inside looks like. Oh boy, look at how gorgeous that is. Do you see it? Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm going to show you how soft and fluffy it is. I'm going to squeeze it. Look at that. Oh my goodness, this is so exciting. I always get so excited with every single loaf that I make. So let me go ahead and slice another piece and see how the texture is. Like it just falls open like a real sandwich loaf. So this is what I'm talking about. This is sliceable. You can make sandwiches with this. Any type of sandwich you want. And look at this bread. I mean, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? There's no huge holes in it for the jelly or peanut butter or mustard, mayonnaise, whatever condiments are going to fall through. Like it is just beautiful, and it's squishy. It is so squishy. Look at how squishy that is. Oh my goodness. It's just beautiful. Okay. Now it is time for me to do all of our favorite parts, which is taste it. Okay. Oh, so pretty. It's like you almost hate to ruin it, right? But I'm gonna. Okay. It smells so good. And I will say, whenever you bake the bread, your whole house smells fantastic. You're gonna love this recipe. It's soft, just a hint of honey. The texture is fantastic. It's moist. It's just, your whole family's gonna love it. You're gonna love it. I am so excited. I think I'm spreading breadcrumbs everywhere, and it doesn't even matter. I'm so excited that you stayed here today and learned how to make this sandwich loaf. I have the recipe linked on my blog, and I will put it in the description. And I just want to say thank you for watching Fresh Flower Living, and I will see you in the next one.